Well, guys, we're finally here. We're officially 1 month away from the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie coming out in theaters. And since watching the trailer at the end of August, my thoughts have completely changed for how this movie is going to turn out. And my predictions in this video are completely different from last year's. Now, I am aware that they are releasing a second trailer, I believe, next week, but I'm not going to watch the second trailer. That's only because some trailers have this thing to where they unintentionally give away the entire plot, and I want some of the things in the movie to be unexpected for me, especially since with the screenshots I've been seeing on Twitter and more information about the movie kind of gives away some plot details, and I want to keep some things unexpected when I go to see this movie on opening night in theaters. Which also reminds me, please do not go in the comments and give away more stuff about the movie. I really want things to be surprised. So, no spoilers. And also, brief disclaimer, if you haven't watched the first Sonic the Hedgehog 3 trailer yet, spoilers will be present in this video, and if you want to avoid spoilers, skip to this time frame. Now, before I do the whole entire breakdown for this trailer, let me just say, I was just like everybody else who was waiting for this trailer to come out. Like, ever since the title reveal in February, I've been waiting for the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 trailer to come out. Now, I knew it wasn't going to come out, like, only a month later. I was predicting maybe around June of that year, like the middle of the year, they would release it because it would be 6 months before the movie comes out. And I was wrong because they didn't release the trailer in June. Then it was announced on Twitter, which I use Twitter as a source, mainly because a lot of things have been, like, shared on Twitter, like screenshots and stuff like that, that the movie trailer would be released in July. July came and went, no trailer. Then they said it was going to release in August, and everybody thought of it as a huge joke, simply because, like, everybody knew they didn't release it the previous month, so they kind of didn't know what to believe, and I wasn't sure, and I mainly had this thing in mind, just wait and see. And we were all wrong because they actually did put the trailer out on YouTube at the end of August, so we all turned out to be wrong. And I actually remember on Twitter, like, a few days before the trailer came out, that something big was going to be happening. Well, actually, I think it was the night before the trailer came out, they said something huge was going to happen the next day, and everyone's like, we're finally getting the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 trailer. And let me just say, it went from everybody complaining that the trailer hasn't been released to everybody praising this trailer to be, like, the best thing ever. And this even includes me. I think that the trailer is absolutely amazing, and I love going back and rewatching certain parts of the trailer. So, let's go ahead and break down the trailer. So the trailer starts off showing Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles all together, and it appears like they're racing in the woods. They show, like, some action scenes of them doing all sorts of stuff, and Tom voiceovers saying that Sonic has finally found his family. And it is a reoccurring, like, theme in the movies of, like, these characters finding where they truly belong, family, stuff like that. And you have this moment where I didn't actually notice this the first time I watched the trailer because, believe me, it was so hard to process it the first time I was reacting to it, that we see, like, this painting on the wall, which people theorize is, like, Sonic's old, like, cave. And it's like a painting of, like, a loop-de-loop, you know, like the Green Hill Zone loop-de-loop from, like, the 1991 game reference. And it shows, like, painting of, like, Sonic and Claw, and how Tom remarks about how Sonic hasn't changed at all in here. And Sonic's like, yeah, in my lungs. And it mainly refers to his heart. Now we get into the good stuff of the trailer. The ultimate life form, Shadow the Hedgehog. Now, let me just say, Shadow's new movie design looks absolutely amazing. Like, you remember in the, like, post-credit scene of the second movie, which it doesn't really matter with me describing this because I'm sure everybody knows about it by now, but when they show Shadow in the post-credit scene at the end of the second Sonic movie, like, his design looks very similar to Sonic, and it is actually Super Sonic's model completely edited and just colored a different color to look like Shadow because they didn't have time to make an actual movie model for Shadow, because I assume the post-credit scene was done at, like, the very end of production when they were wrapping stuff up for the movie. But it was mainly made to do, like, that whole entire tease for the next movie. And in this new design, they do a way better job at it. Like, it looks way better than what we saw him at the end of Sonic 2. Like, he looks very close to his video game counterpart with a few differences. with the main key difference being that he has two separate eyes, just like movie Sonic and the other characters, to which Tails and Knuckles, I think, already had two separate eyes. But, like, as for, like, the Hedgehog characters, they mainly have those two conjoined eyes when it comes to, like, the way they look in the video games. But in the movie universe, they have two separate eyes. But he has two separate eyes. He has a few extra quills. He has the extra, like, back quill or back spike, just like movie Sonic. And he has an extra one on his back and stuff. And I will get into this later, but I also love the way that his gloves and his shoes look. So it shows Shadow awakening, and he breaks through the capsule. Then he looks completely soaking wet, and he chaos controls out of there. Now, people think that where Project Shadow is held is in Prison Island, because that's what it appears like later on in the trailer, and like rewatching the trailer before I actually recorded this video actually appears that way. And it's described about how like Project Shadow is like the most powerful thing. And I know I'm like paraphrasing, but it's like so hard for me to like go back and like describe exactly. But anyways, they talk more about Shadow, and I think it's like one of the people who work for Gun describe like Shadow's past. But before we get to that, I must note that like Team Sonic at first appears to be helping Gun try to like take down like Shadow or like capture Shadow or something like that, which is a completely new direction because they were against Gun in like the last movie. But in this movie, they seem to be working with Gun trying to take down Shadow. And one of the people who work for Gun described Shadow's backstory, saying that his story began a lot like Sonic's. Like, you see the comparison, and I would like to bring up like the comparison to all these characters throughout these movies. And we actually see the real movie Maria, because we see, of course, the shot where Maria puts her hand on the glass where Project Shadow is being created, and you see Shadow actually smile. Yes, Shadow can smile. He's not always so grumpy, guys. But ever since they released, like, they talked about, like, the cast for, like, the third Sonic movie, like, they were, like, revealing more of the people who were involved with the movie and the cast members and stuff. And once I saw that one of the actresses was a blonde girl, I immediately thought that would have to be Maria. And it would be later confirmed in February that that was the actress who is playing Maria in the movie. And a main difference that Sonic and Shadow have when it came to their stories is, well, Sonic found friends and family, Shadow only found pain and loss. Now, round of applause, everybody. You got what you wanted. Let me just say that they're probably going to pull off what they did in the games of what happens to Maria, because this shot right here is what people theorize is the moment that Maria dies in the movie. And I'm pretty sure that she actually dies in the movie, and I was a little unsure if they were going to, but you guys got what you wanted. Now you can cheer in the theaters. It's actually going to be pretty crazy, because you're going to have all these people cheering for this moment while you're going to have some kids confused or crying over the whole entire thing. Because it became like a huge like joke online where everybody's like, "Woohoo! We lost Maria." I mean, it sounds wrong, but you look it up. You'll see people cheering for excitement when this happens on the big screen, I believe. Like, I think that's probably what's going to happen when I go to see this movie in theaters, where you'll have everybody cheering with excitement that you have Maria, like, freaking die on screen. So anyways, the trailer continues on, and they're trying to search for Shadow, and Sonic's like, alright, where do we look first? And Tails is like, flying like this helicopter or something. He's like, we start with a giant fireball, and then Sonic's like, I love it, let's start with a giant fireball. And we got Sonic, Tails, Knuckles jump out of the helicopter, talk about a low-budget flight, as people would quote it, simply because I saw that on Twitter as well. People are just trying to theorize of what they see as like references and stuff, and we get, of course, movie Shadow back on the big screen as Team Sonic are ready to fight him off. And you see Shadow walking up like this debris of probably like crashed cars and stuff, because it looks like they're like in the middle of like the streets and stuff like that. And then Knuckles is like, he is much more impressive than the Hedgehog I fought previously, with like Sonic saying, dude, I'm standing right here. And movie Shadow says his first words in this trailer, you're a colorful bunch. And let me just say that you can definitely hear it is Keanu Reeves' voice, because I knew that he'd be the voice of Shadow since it was confirmed back in April. Like, back when I made my predictions, I wasn't sure, like, who was going to be the voice of Shadow, whether it be, like, a big-name movie star, like this big-name celebrity, or someone who previously voiced him in the video games. Because they have, like, Tails, a voice actor from the video games, like, voice him in the movies and stuff. But, like, as for the rest of the cast, they haven't done, like, work in, like, the Sonic series besides this movie series. And I was surprised, like, I, like, honestly wasn't sure, like, how it would go with, like, someone who didn't voice Shadow from the games. But it was also later stated that Keanu Reeves did his homework on how to, like, portray this character in the film, to which, if you don't know anything about Keanu Reeves, he's often praised as being one of the best people in Hollywood, one of the nicest people in Hollywood. And another thing that I must say is it didn't take long for people to actually point out comparisons between Shadow and John Wick, as Keanu Reeves is best known for playing in the John Wick series, The Matrix, etc. Now, personally, I haven't watched that many of his movies. I've only watched 2 of them. I've watched the SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run, where he is like a minor character, though I don't really think I should count it, but I wanted to include it in there. And of course, I watched the first John Wick movie, which, before you ask my opinion on it, I didn't care for it that much. Not to say the movie was bad, but it didn't really feel too much like a hype movie as I thought everybody else thought it was, because it's like everybody praises this movie for being like the best thing ever that Keanu has done. And I didn't think the movie was bad, but I wouldn't call it like the most over-the-top movie. But that doesn't stop me from watching Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And lots of people made comparison videos, and they actually even like animated Shadow to lip sync to some of the lines that like came from other Keanu Reeves movies to see how it would sound, and you can literally just hear that it is Keanu Reeves. Which people are like, imagine if they break the fourth wall and say, oh, you sound a lot like Keanu. It'd be pretty crazy. But the main key difference of why people compare like John Wick to Shadow is because both characters suffer from loss. Because the obvious thing in the Sonic series when it came to Shadow's backstory, he loses his best friend Maria. And the main thing with John Wick is John Wick lost his wife and he lost his puppy in the movie. And that is like a main like thing that I found a reoccurring, like this is a reoccurring thing that I found in the Sonic movies, is that you have a character suffer from loss. Where you had Sonic lose Long Claw in the first movie, you had Knuckles lose his tribe in the second movie because they rely on a lot of backstory stuff that the first movie had. And in the third movie, you got Shadow who loses Maria, possibly. Though I'm pretty sure she actually dies. Like, that's what I found, like, a reoccurring thing, is you have the characters deal with, like, loss in a way. So, Sonic says, we don't want to fight you. And Knuckles is like, actually, Sonic, I would like to fight. But Sonic warns him not to, being like, Knuckles, no! And he's about to, like, fight off Shadow, but then Shadow uses Chaos Control, go right up to Knuckles, and, like, you thought that Knuckles could break everybody's wrist? You'd be wrong this time. Because you have Knuckles do this, and then you got, like, Shadow grab onto his wrist and twist it. And, like, the details on his gloves look really good. Like, I wanted to mention this, that his gloves appear to be made of leather in this movie, along with, like, the red things on his gloves. And you got his shiny inhibitor rings to where you can kind of see, like, the clasp of where they, like, close. And same thing applies, like, to his shoes, where his shoes also appear to be made of leather with the jets underneath. Like, I think that's a really nice detail on how they translated it into the movie universe. Similar how they did it with the other characters where they have, like, actual, like, cloth gloves and shoes and stuff like that. And Shadow beats the crap out of Knuckles. He kicks him right up to the sky. And then Movie Sonic is like, my turn. But then before Tails can do anything, Shadow beats up Tails, which I didn't even know that they use that as a reoccurring thing in the series, because he, like, beat him up in Sonic X and in Sonic Boom. And he beats up Tails, shoves him off to the side, and then it's just, there's so much going on in the scene. I just love replaying this part of the trailer, where he grabs onto Sonic and then, like, clasps on his neck and then goes up to the sky, and then Sonic's like, can we just talk about this? And then Shadow goes right up, and he slams him down to the ground, and then, of course, you see the dust all in the street. Like, that is, like, the most replayed moment of the trailer for me. Like, I love going back and replaying that whole entire thing when they approach Shadow, and then Shadow beats everybody up. It's just so amazing. So as the trailer goes on, Sonic mentions about how Shadow is too powerful, and you get this amazing cinematography where you have Shadow glide across the water with his air shoes. He's like zigzagging across the water. Like, I would just say that the way this movie looks visually, like, looks the best out of all the Sonic movies. And this movie hasn't even come out yet. And it just looks so amazing. Like, the visuals look amazing. The lighting looks great. It just looks incredible. And you got Shadow beating up Gun. You got Tom yelling, Sonic! And you get this moment where Shadow appears to make, like, this portal, and everything looks like it's getting sucked into the portal as Team Sonic is, like, tied up or chained up against some type of, like, platform. And people theorize that, like, Tom will either get injured or die in the movie. Though I don't think he's going to die in the movie. I think he will get injured and stuff, because you also have this moment where you got all three characters, like... Sorry, I can't keep a straight face. And Sonic eventually comes up with the idea saying, I can't believe I'm saying this, but we need you-know-who. He's back! I had to do it again. But they need Dr. Eggman's help, or Dr. Robotnik's help. And Tails remarks about how it's a bad idea, but when's that ever stopped Sonic? And let me just say, the way that Eggman looks in this movie completely caught me off guard. Like, yes, I was aware he'd gained a few pounds, but I didn't think that he had, like, his hair grown out and his mustache a mess and everything. And you got Agent Stone, come in and say, Doctor, and then he's like, ah! So funny. I forgot how entertaining Jim Carrey is as Eggman in this movie. And Knuckles remarks how sad it is, like, for Dr. Eggman, and Sonic talks about how, like, they need his help, but only under one condition. You gotta give him his power. So Sonic gives him this quill, and of course you got the iconic, you know, when he gets electrocuted, and he tells Stone, let's do this! And you got, of course, his hair gets shaved, and he got his mustache all fixed up, and only one downside, he can't fit into his jacket, because, like, let me just say, like, I was expecting him to gain a few pounds, because people remark about how, like, the more the movies go, like, the more Eggman looks like he does in the video games and stuff. Like, I was expecting this in this trailer, not his hair to be grown out. That was the only thing that caught me off guard. Because remember in that reaction, I was like, yep, he's Eggman. Like, that was just so funny, that moment of the trailer. But, like, anyways, Eggman can't fit in his jacket. He tells Agent Stone that he needs room, and then he's like, sir, I don't have the right materials. And you got the moment where he rips part of his shirt. Eggman rips part of Stone's shirt, and he's like, I found some. That was actually the funniest part of the movie, no, not gonna lie. It was so funny. So you get a few more moments, like a few more action moments throughout the trailer, with Shadow saying, when we're done, there won't be anything left. And you see a few more action scenes. You got Shadow on his motorcycle, with Sonic being like, hey, no cheat code. And they actually make a reference to Chow in this trailer. It's kind of like a blinking you'll miss moment. And it's actually confirmed that they actually have some kind of Chow in the movie universe, but in the form of mascots, because you have, like, this moment, like, where they appear to be in some sort of, like, restaurant or something, and you got, like, these big Chow costumes and stuff. And there's just so much going on throughout this trailer. It's just so amazing. It's like you could go back and rewatch it over and over again. And you got the most epic moment, like the last moment where you got Shadow speak, with Sonic being like, what did you do? And then Shadow's like, what I had to do. You got this moment where he's up on his motorcycle, up in the air, and both him and Sonic are about to collide as the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 title comes back on screen. And they actually play a little bit of an instrumental to Live and Learn. And I believe Live and Learn is actually confirmed to be in this movie. And they actually played, like, this whole entire different, like, music rendition of Green Hill Zone throughout the trailer. I forgot to mention that at the beginning. But that's not all, everyone, because we got one more character introduced. We got Professor Gerald. And let me just say that this is probably what convinced Jim Carrey to come back as Eggman in the movie, because not only does he play Dr. Eggman or Robotnik in this movie, he plays Gerald. So he's basically playing two roles, and it looks almost as if he's talking to himself, and it's like, it can't be. And then you got a few, like, moments of, like, dialogue, and then Eggman's like, Papa, and then you got Gerald being like, in the saggy flesh, and they hug, and that's the end of the trailer, in theaters, December of 2024. Now, when I saw Gerald in the trailer, which I think I saw a few screenshots before watching the trailer, such as like movie shadow, and I think of Gerald, so Gerald wasn't like 100% new, but it was either like, I had like two theories when it came to Gerald appearing. That either, one, he's alive in this version, which I believe is the case, or two, he only appears in fantasy, because, spoiler alert for the Knuckles series, which I need to review next, but you got Chief Patrick Kamak, who appears in the show, and when I saw him in the trailer for Knuckles, when the Knuckles trailer came out, before the show came out on Paramount Plus, that I didn't even know if he was to physically appear in the show, which I thought he would. Thinking that as if he was the one of the echidnas who survived out of all the echidnas who died in the tribe and stuff like that. But he only appears in the fantasy as a ghost. And I honestly was thinking the same thing could happen with like Gerald, but I believe he actually is alive in this version. I think it's confirmed as well. Now to get into the actual new movie predictions. Now, I don't think this movie will fully be based off of Sonic Adventure 2 anymore. And that's mainly because, from what I remember last year, when I made my predictions, I was hoping that this movie would rely so much on Sonic Adventure 2 references. But once I watched this trailer and thought more about it, it made me remember that the Sonic cinematic movie universe is actually its own thing. It takes references from the video games, but it doesn't directly follow video game plots. That mainly applies more with the second Sonic movie, which I can't specifically say what they based the plot off of. I think it's with the second Sonic the Hedgehog game and Sonic 3 and Knuckles, I think. But I'm not fully sure, because I know that the first one wasn't really based off of anything. It was just a movie with Sonic in it. Because with these movies, it feels like the more these movies go on, the more they feel like a Sonic movie. Like with the first movie, it just feels like a movie where you have Sonic in it, and it's kind of like they're experimenting with the movie of what they can do. The second movie feels a lot more like a Sonic movie, where they take things from the different games, they put it into the plot line, and they add some references, and of course you got more characters, so you have more that you can do with more characters in a movie. And the third movie definitely seems like it's the most Sonic-like out of all of them so far. Again, the movie hasn't come out yet, but from what I'm seeing from the trailer and stuff, it definitely feels like it could be considered possibly the best in the entire trilogy so far. As for the Sonic Adventure 2 stuff, many were expecting, oh, we need City Escape, or we need the Space Colony arc, or we need these new characters in there. To which lots of people just desperately want Amy and Rouge to be in this movie at this point, which they didn't appear in the trailer. And I honestly, like, the only real reason I wanted Rouge in the movie was mainly because she was involved in Sonic Adventure 2's plot. I think that's the main real reason why people would want Rouge and Amy in the movie, because they were involved in Sonic Adventure 2's plot and stuff. And it doesn't actually seem that bad that they're not going to be in this movie, where, like, I mean, people are saying, oh, there's still a chance they could be in there. You see the spacing in between all, like, in this movie, because there are a few, like, of the scenes in the trailer where it looks like the characters are spaced out, as if a character's supposed to be there and they're just edited out. But I think that's more because many have just become so desperate at this point. But 2 years back, I wanted Rouge in the movie. That was only because I was starting to learn about Sonic Adventure 2. Last year, wanted Rouge in the movie. Felt like she could possibly work for Gunn or Dr. Eggman or something. But I don't seem that disappointed that they weren't in the trailer at all. Which, again, real reason. They were involved in Sonic Adventure 2. To which, if they were to actually include them in the movie, I don't know how that would work out, because you already have four Sonic characters to balance in the movie. You got Sonic, you got Tails, you got Knuckles, and you got Shadow. And adding those two, I think, would be kind of difficult to juggle in the plot, because I think it's a thing where if you have too many characters in a movie, you don't know, like, what to do with them. Which is why, in my opinion, that Tails is kind of more shoved off to the side in these movies the more I watched them. Because the more I watched Sonic 2, the more I realized that the main focus was more on, like, Sonic and Knuckles, and mainly them being rivals and stuff like that, while Tails was just kind of there. I mean, Tails was important to the plot too, but I felt like he was more off to the side. Even in this movie, I believe that he'll kind of be more off to the side. He'll still be important, but I feel like just not the main focus. And if you have to juggle like 6 different characters in the same movie, I don't think it's really going to work out. Not saying that they couldn't do it, but I feel like just introducing Shadow for now just would be good, which I think they said they're rumoring that there's going to be another character introduced, which people are like, Amy should be in the movie, Amy should be in the movie. And I think that's mainly because she's the one who convinces Shadow to like join them in the end, and at the end of Sonic Adventure 2. But again, I'll just wait and see. And also, not watching the second trailer, by the way, again. But with the movie universe being its own thing, it makes it very unique in a way where it's not like they're copying and pasting these Sonic game plots like the Adventure plot or the Adventure 2 plot or something like that. Because if you were to just do the exact same plot, like, you'd just literally be making a live action version of Sonic Adventure 2. You'd know what to expect. You'd know, oh, they have City Escape, they have the ruins, they got White Jungle, they've got the Ark, they got them in space and everything. You know what to expect. But with these movies, they take it to where they are unique in their own way, where this movie, again, has Sonic Adventure 2 elements, but doesn't directly follow the plot, which makes the Sonic movie cinematic universe unique. And I'm thinking maybe they will include possibly Space Colony Arc, which many people are thinking, and also new screenshots have been shared, to which I'm still trying desperately to avoid, because spoilers, you don't want too much given away to where you can just basically play the whole movie in your head before seeing it, which is something that, like, I don't want to just have to piece it all together before I go to see it. I just want things unexpected, because when things are unexpected for me, it causes me to enjoy it, because I went watching just Sonic 1 and 2 without even really watching main trailers, and I didn't even watch those 2 movies in theaters. I watched them on DVD at my house, to which I still regretted not seeing Sonic 2 in theaters. And even if I were to, I would have already known about Shadow's reveal online, as I was trying to forget about it, but it's like once I see something, I can't forget it. Now, a new direction that they take this film is, even though some later screenshots would kind of show otherwise, to which I won't give them away, you guys might know what I'm talking about, is how you have Shadow be solo on his own in this movie, and you have like Team Sonic with like Dr. Eggman and stuff, and you know anything about Dr. Eggman? Yeah, you guys probably are thinking the same thing I am, but I felt like it was a new, unique direction to take it, even if it might actually kind of change later on, where, again, it's one of those things, you just don't recycle things from like previous material, otherwise you just know exactly what to expect. But with this movie, it's like, yeah, we know what we see coming and stuff, but still, from what I saw like firsthand with the trailer, I felt like it was a new, unique direction. Instead of recycling what Sonic 2 did, when they had like Knuckles with Dr. Eggman, you had basic betrayal, then you had characters team up in the end and they saved the day. But new direction is a good like thing to do, and I do believe that probably Shadow will eventually like team up with like Team Sonic at the end. It feels like it's expected, but I don't know how they're gonna like do that in the movie, and like I honestly don't know how they're gonna have that team up in the end. Like, we just have to wait and see. And also from new screenshots, we see this whole thing where it appears like, also spoiler alert, but you also have it to where it almost looks like Dr. Eggman and Gerald have this some sort of dynamic together, and it's like as if they are working together, which again makes you theorize more for the plot. It makes you know more of the plot before you even see it happen on screen. Very sad that I feel like I'm predicting this movie already, but I feel like you have that sort of thing in the movie now. It seems like it's already in there. And you also have, like, again, the team screenshot. I'm just gonna dub it the team screenshot, to which I'm trying to theorize, make theories about it, just to use it as an excuse for me not to just know the obvious of, let's just say, Dr. Eggman envisioning this team that's being shown. Because I don't want to know the obvious, because you've already given it away. Now for Maria. Now, new rumors have been going around, about how exactly does Maria die in this film. I showed earlier, screenshot of what appears to be debris on fire. You have gun all around, you got Shadow, you got Gerald, and you got what appears to be Maria lying on the ground, probably dead, to where people are thinking, what if she actually went down to the earth, but those were her first and last moments on the earth? Like, meaning she got down to the earth, she died on the earth when stuff happened with Gunn and stuff, and I honestly don't know how they'll handle, like, Shadow's emotion in this movie. Now, Shadow seems more of a character that is driven by anger and grief, simply because in the games, like, after Maria dies, because he was the one to witness Maria die, he was the first one to see Maria die right in front of his eyes, which traumatized him, and he's driven by anger and grief only because Gerald manipulated his memories to have him seek revenge towards humanity over what they did, mainly because Gerald felt, like, absolutely devastated over the death of his granddaughter, because she was on the list of the ones who died amongst the Ark in the games. They describe that in the game lore. But Shadow's emotions in this movie, I mean, he seems more portrayed as a character with, like, anger and stuff, to where he wouldn't be that overly emotional character. And one thing to note about the Sonic series, they don't get emotional. They can't get too emotional because it's against the rules and the mandates. But I feel like showing, like, the Sonic characters with, like, more emotion would be important for, like, the story. Because I want them to do it so desperately, like, in this series. I mean, I highly doubt they ever will. But one thing that I can bring up as an example, Project Shadow. And spoilers for Project Shadow, but they convey Shadow's emotion pretty well in this fan-made short film, where it's inevitable at the end that we were going to get the raid when, like, Gunn raids the space colony Ark and they want to take Shadow, and you got Shadow beat up Gunn, and then him and Maria have to escape, and then you got, like, Shadow who, like, can't really control his chaos energy because it's explored in the short film about how he needs to have more control with it and stuff, and it's not really in control until he has, like, his inhibitor rings, to which he's not fully adjusted to it because he just got them. And at the end of the short film, you have him be put in the capsule by Maria because he's absolutely exhausted. And you kind of see from Shadow's point of view of being put in the capsule and being in the capsule as Maria says, like, to go down the Ark and stuff and say her final words, sayonara, Shadow the Hedgehog, as Shadow appears to be sad. But if that wasn't bad enough for you, of Shadow showing that emotion, you get to the inevitable Maria die scene, where you have one of the gun soldiers come up to her and says, "Don't play with me, and when I count to 3, you will move away." And Shadow realizes that something bad's about to happen, and he desperately tries to escape out of the capsule. Now, this is before it's launched down into space, by the way, where you have, like, Maria defending him like this, because she's literally sacrificing herself for him, like, protecting him. And Shadow's like, don't do it, Maria. And he's trying to, like, get out of the capsule, and sure, he could simply chaos control out of the capsule, but he couldn't do so because, like, he didn't have it all in control. And it was just one of those things to where there was, like, nothing he could do. And he just was there banging on the glass, trying to figure out a way out, constantly telling Maria, "Don't pull the lever, don't do it, Maria." As the gun soldier counts down 1, or counts up 1, 2, and then 3, you know what happens. Screen flashes to white the moment that you have Gunn, shoot her, and they shoot Maria, she dies, and the whole world slows down around Shadow, where he looks, like, surprised, and it's all black and white, except when you see Shadow's red eyes and his highlights around his eyes, and stuff like that, where he's just looking there, and then the more he's looking, he looks like he's absolutely shaking, and you can kind of see his, like, breathing speed up a little bit, and he's like, he looks absolutely shocked, traumatized, and you have this moment where you have it, like, to his eyes, and you can actually see tears stream down his face, coming to the realization of what happened right in front of his eyes, seeing his best friend die right in front of him. And of course, you got Shadow yelling Maria in the most agonizing way ever, after witnessing what just happened in front of his eyes, and that is the moment he goes right down to the earth, and that shouldn't have been the last moment he saw Maria. And after this short film came out, like, it didn't take long for people to actually redraw the last scene of this short movie, where you have Shadow curled up in the capsule and appears to be crying like this. and he just couldn't do anything to protect Maria. That is a good example of showing how Shadow would truly feel over the loss of Maria, to which they don't convey very well in, like, the main series. Sure, he cries at the end of Sonic Adventure 2. Well, slight tear goes down his face. I mean, it's close enough, guys. But I feel like they wouldn't be able to show the emotion just like that in the actual official stuff. I highly doubt it. But I would be surprised if they actually did that kind of thing, showing him suffer through that loss. And even though I haven't watched Sonic Shadow Generations Dark Beginnings, I know about the ending where they're doing the realistic depiction of a panic attack, guys. Oh my gosh. Which, that trope only originates from Puss in Boots' Last Wish. Which, if you know anything about that scene got memed everywhere after this movie came out. And why people are saying, we should put this in more media. They need to do this in Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Let's do Shadow's realistic depiction of a panic attack in Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Which I highly doubt that they would do that, but again, I would be surprised if they did. Like, that whole entire trope has got completely memed all over to heck and back, simply because they do it so well in that one movie. And when I went to see that movie in theaters, I actually saw it in theaters, I was surprised, and I thought it was very well done as well. Now, I'm not exactly sure how, like, the final battle would go in this movie, because we don't know what, like, giant threat there will be. Will most likely be you-know-who. But I honestly am not sure, like, how they're gonna, like, do the ending and stuff, which, I mean, I don't need to get ahead of myself with the whole movie, I don't. But I feel like with the predictions I made, like, well, they're technically kind of not predictions. I'm mainly going off of what everyone else is saying. But I feel like this movie has so much that could possibly happen in it. Like, I feel like it's definitely going to be a pretty good movie. And I feel like they can definitely expand the Sonic movie franchise. And I honestly don't know if they should continue the movies, because on the one hand, you can tell so many stories when it comes to Sonic, but at the same time, you don't want to absolutely milk a movie series to where it's not good anymore. But if they were to continue the movie series, I have an idea of a future character that could appear. And I sound like I'm getting ahead of myself and I'm not really sure how it will be, but if they did introduce who I wanted to at the end of that movie, I would give a standing ovation. I would clap. I would cheer, because my character got what he deserved. He deserves the same treatment as Shadow. Year 2026, make it his year. So that wraps up my Sonic the Hedgehog 3 trailer breakdown and new predictions. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and be sure to see Sonic the Hedgehog 3 when it comes out in theaters.